Hi, I'm Ethan, and today I'm reviewing Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now, if you notice, the setup's a bit different. I'm actually at my house right now instead of the dorms at college, so setup's a bit different. For example, the camera has to be a lot closer, so I'm a lot more zoomed in, and might even be poking my head out of the frame, and sometimes just forgive that for the next couple videos. So Modern Warfare, I actually kind of have an interesting history with buying. I wanted to buy it launch weekend. Well, the weekend after launch weekend because my friends were having a good time. They were all logging in, and I wanted to join in. So I found someone selling it for $40 on the Facebook Marketplace. I sent them the money. They didn't send anything in return because they were an hour away. They had to ship it. So yeah, I just lost $40 from that. So I told myself, I'm not going to buy this at full price. Lo and behold, Black Friday comes along, $40, pick it up, and I think that's a very fair price to pay for this game, because I don't think it has enough content to warrant a $60 price tag. Now, in Call of Duty, there are typically three game modes, multiplayer, campaign, and some third thing. Treyarch likes to throw in zombie mode, and in the past, Infinity War has put in survival mode in some of the modern warfares in which you fight off waves of enemies trying to shoot at you. There's a variant of it in Modern Warfare, but there's not a lot of substance to it. It's not as good as it has been in previous years. And actually, unless you're on PlayStation, you don't even get this mode because PlayStation has a year-long exclusivity deal, which the life cycle of a Call of Duty game is about a year, so you're kind of screwed either way if you don't have a PlayStation, which I own a PlayStation, but I can acknowledge that that is, well, a dick move. I mean, imagine someone else paying the same price for the game and they get a third more content than you do. Kind of stupid. So let's start with the campaign. I really like the campaign, and I think that was their main focus, campaign ahead of multiplayer, because there is a lot of effort put into it. It's a bit short. It's a bit on the shorter side, but I can forgive that. The cutscenes look phenomenal. I mean, this is one of the most graphically impressive games since, I want to say, like Red Dead Redemption 2. Mentioned about on par as Death Stranding, which I mentioned in the review about how the graphics in that game were great. Cinematics and gameplay. I mean, gameplay looks incredibly realistic, but the cinematics easily mistakable for a movie. I mean, it's impressive where we're going. I can't wait to see what happens on the PlayStation 5. So the campaign, like most Call of Duties, you're playing as two different people. One side is British, one side is American, and they're doing a joint forces operation in order to stop some sort of terrorist threat. Yeah, in this game, the American side is fighting with the fictional rebellion of Uzbekistan against Russians. There was some stolen gas stolen by Uzbekistanian terrorists. Tongue twister there. So the Russian government thinks that the rebellion did it, and they're getting ready to go to war, so you have to prevent that from happening. Now, the British are involved because the Uzbekistanian terrorists have also been moving on to some areas in London. So you have a front, so you're fighting a front on the Middle Eastern side, and you're also fighting a front on the British side. So the British side has a lot more stealth-orientated missions, which I think are really cool. Captain Price returns from the previous Modern Warfare games. He was always a fan favorite. I think the stealth missions are a cool change of pace than just running around shooting behind cover, which is still fine. That's what most of the missions in Uzbekistan are, but I like those missions. There's actually one I really like. You have a really powerful sniper, and you're just sniping at huge ranges, so you have to account for bullet drop and wind, which actually isn't that realistic. I mean, even from what I've told, when you're firing a sniper at a range of like miles, that's about when bullet drop happens. This is saying it happens in about a couple hundred meters. I am going on a huge tangent here, but that's just my take on the realism. So they definitely do sacrifice realism for fun. But speaking of realism, that is the name of the hardest difficulty in which I played on. It takes the veteran difficulty, in which you die in about 1 or 2 shots, and takes away the HUD. So you can't see how much ammo, you can't see how many grenades you have, you can't even see what gun you're holding. Well, you can see the gun you're holding, but you can't see like what it's called or any stats about it. And I like it a lot. It makes the game feel a lot more cinematic when there's no extra flashing lights or indicators that you have to pay attention to. It's just you, the gun, and the enemy, and that's all there is to it. But unlike a lot of games in which a really hard difficulty means the enemies can just take 1,000 bullets, it's a lot more balanced. You can take about 2-3 bullets, and the enemy can take about the same. So I would say that's a fair thing to call realism. More headshots will of course almost always be a one-shot kill. If you shoot people in the leg, it'll take a bit more shots, and I think they hit what they were going for. Now, multiplayer-wise is a massive mixed bag, because after you're done with the campaign, which admittedly only like 20% COD players do, you're left with multiplayer. There aren't too many maps, and all the maps are centered around camping. For those who aren't familiar with the Call of Duty series or first-person shooters in general, camping is sitting in a room with a gun and waiting for someone to get in your line of sight. It is the most annoying way to play. I don't understand how anybody has fun just sitting with their controller still, pressing R2 when they see movement. It's a stupid way to play, and a lot of people play like that. But if you actually do run around and try to enjoy yourself in the multiplayer and aren't in a lobby with a bunch of campers, it can be fun. However, this is me. I have not been good at Call of Duty multiplayers in the past, and I'm good at this one. Which is a bit concerning because the developers themselves stated that they were aiming at a casual audience. They want this game to be noob-friendly. They want anyone who's not good to feel good. So that makes me feel pretty bad about my skills, but I've got a friend, Gage. He likes to play on the competitive side of things. He talks about how nobody plays the objective because everybody is just camping. He mentions that the spawns are poor, in which, you spawn in, you're immediately getting shot at, which is a problem that persists from Black Ops 4. And he mentions that it's not that great in terms of gunplay as well. The time to kill is really short, and a lot of the hardcore players don't like that. I personally do like a quick time to kill. I don't like long, drawn-out gunfights, but that might just be me compensating for not being the best at this game. Regardless, the multiplayer isn't for everyone. I suggest you rent it at a game store if that's even possible anymore. Borrow it from a friend. Maybe if they add it to PlayStation Now / the Xbox Game Pass, get it on that. But other than that, I would try before you buy for this game. I'd say the game is about a 7 out of 10. The campaign is a lot of fun. The multiplayer is, depending on who you are, it's really good or really bad. And frankly, I don't care about Spec Ops. You can ignore it and still have I don't want to say you can have a full game because, you're only getting a smaller amount, but that smaller amount is good, if you can kind of catch what I'm saying. Which is why I don't recommend paying $60 for it, because of the third of the game is just so mediocre. Call of Duties are fairly hard to rate because if we go back to Black Ops 3, the Zombies mode is my favorite thing ever, and I give it a solid 10 out of 10, but the campaign is like a 7, and the multiplayer is probably like a 7.5, so do you rate it a 10 out of 10 because you really like the Zombies, or do you rate it an 8 out of 10? That's just a personal thought of mine. Like I said, try before you buy. Don't recommend playing at full price, but it's still somewhere around a 7 out of 10. See ya.